What's up, y'all? This is Julian Beaudion, the Executive Director of the Hub South Dakota. We are back with another episode of Roots and Revenue, where our focus and our mission is to bring you the root of the person before we bring you the revenue of their organization. And so today we are pleased and privileged to have a very special guest with us. I'm actually kind of nervous about this one. If you notice, I'm sitting in another chair. If you come on the podcast, don't get any ideas. That's my chair. Today, we have the beautiful, the lovely Inkka, my wife. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to be here.
So I didn't know that you told me this is your first podcast as an individual.
It is, which I say I'm still not an individual because you're with me.
Listen, this is about you today. So we're gonna make this about you. Can you tell us who you are, what you do, a little bit about yourself?
Yes. So again, my name is Inkka Beaudion, and I am the owner of Swamp Daddy's Cajun Kitchen. And we've been in business now for about 14. I'm just joking. Or that's a number that I should know, but it just seems to kind of blend together.
11 years.
Yeah, 11 years. It seemed like it's been about 20.
Right.
So definitely an entrepreneur, small business owner, which I'm very proud of and involved. I'm also involved in some community organizations such as the NAACP, have some involvement with Face It Together, the African American History Museum, and some supporters of a lot of local nonprofits as well. And I am a wife and a mother of 3 beautiful daughters. And yeah.
All right. So you missed one organization that I know is near and dear to your heart as well. And I want to talk about that a little bit as we move forward, but it's also ACE Academy.
Yes.
Very, very active in ACE Academy as well. Before we kind of maybe dig deep into ACE Academy, let's talk about Swamp Daddies.
Okay.
And let's talk about you being a Black woman in the profession that you're in. Of course, the goal is to talk about some of the obstacles that maybe you have had to overcome or seeking advice to overcome, and things maybe that folks can depend on you for advice as well. What has been your experience as a woman entrepreneur, and then secondarily, what has been your experience? And maybe secondarily is the wrong word, but what has also been your experience as a Black woman in the space of owning a restaurant?
That's a very good question. I will say that I've done many interviews where people have asked me, what made you decide to become a chef or to own a restaurant? And whenever I really dig deep into my purpose and trying to figure out my why I do the things that I do, I really didn't know. I thought I knew, honestly, because I love food. I'm from Louisiana. I wanted people to be able to have that flavor, have that taste, and have the that Southern hospitality, something that I was severely missing when we moved up here to South Dakota. And so I ultimately thought that was my reasoning for doing what I did, which was starting serving food, under the canopy, and then got the food truck and the restaurant. But I was having a conversation with Clint, a good friend of ours, and he was like,
Give him like a full shout out, because Clint is well known in entrepreneur circles for sure. It's also like grassroots stuff.
yes, so
Brown is who you're talking about.
yeah, Clint Brown is someone that we both have leaned on at different times, and I'm sure a lot of community members do. He's a very, very intelligent individual, and just a very direct. Like, if you want to know something and you don't want it to be sugar coated, go to Clint. He will cut and dry. But the reason why I bring him up is because we were having a conversation. This was a period of not that long ago, honestly. This was this year. We were closed temporarily at the restaurant for it had been 8 months. And so we were having a conversation with him, and he asked me, he was like, why do you do this? What's your purpose? And I was about to give my traditional answer, but then I knew that he knew me well enough to know
That you were about to be.
that I was about to be traditional, and he was wanting me to dig deep and to really find my why. And so my answer that I gave him was like, I want to give back to the community. Like, to me, being connected to community, being connected to people, is ultimately my reason. Like I want people to be able to have a safe space, have a place where they can enjoy themselves, be themselves. Um, and he was like, "Well, this is a really expensive ass way to give back to the community." And I was like, "Can we curse? Is that okay?" Okay. Um, so and I was like, "Okay, well." And whenever I said that, I was like, "You know what? You're right. You're right." And then I started to think about that, you know, like and being a woman, a female business owner, a Black woman business owner. Some people look and say, "Oh, you're so successful. You guys do this, and you're a successful business owner." Um, and by no means am I financially wealthy. You know, being a restaurateur, owning a restaurant, it's not a lavish business by no means. In my opinion, it's a lot of hard work, a lot of
Margins are slim.
a lot of sacrifices, um, of time, of money. Because I know, you know, there are many times where we had our own personal needs go aside in order for the business to be successful or to even keep the doors open. We've made a lot of personal sacrifices. And so whenever I look at success, and what really matters most and how does that feel, how do I feel about being a female business owner. And sometimes it's not even really just being a female or a woman business owner. It's just being a business owner that I've learned that there are a lot of challenges and sacrifices that you make. And one thing that I've come to appreciate is the people. If I did this just for money, I would have closed a long time ago. If this was just because of money, there's no way that, and my accountant could probably tell you this, that this would be a sustainable thing if it was just about the money. And so being able to identify my reason is that it's not about the money. It's about the connections, like being able to employ individuals who are were formerly incarcerated and trying to get their lives back on track. Being able to know that people turned them away because they either didn't have much work history at all, that because they either have tattoos on their face or they were formerly incarcerated just because of that, not wanting to give them a chance, and for them to know that they can come to Swamp Daddies and look at getting a job, no matter what it is. And to me, it's the small things, you know, just being able to help someone, knowing that I know if the shoe was on the other foot, I would want somebody to do that for me. And that is ultimately, whenever I look at it, whether you're, because I mean, I have single mothers, I have formerly incarcerated individuals, I have
Those who struggle with addiction.
those that struggle with addiction, yes, like from everybody in between.
Yeah.
And we all just want to find our place, you know. And just because you have certain things going on in your life doesn't mean that you can't have a good job, that you can't have a community, an employer that supports you and wants to build you up. And so I know I tell my whole team, like, once you're hired, you're a part of the Swamp Daddy family
For sure.
and will always be.
So let's talk about that word a little bit, family. There's two kind of versions of what you think about family. You have your immediate family, of course, and then you have your work family. Let's talk about the culture that you've been able to build at Swamp Daddies and what that work family means to you. And then how have you been really intentional about setting the tone of what a work family means to other people?
So, I mean, in the restaurant industry, the people that you work with, and really almost any industry, if you're working out full time, the people that you work with, you spend a lot of time with them. And so they become
Thinking of you as a business owner because you're always there.
oh, for me specifically, yes. They be trying to kick me out, and I'm like, nope. But like as with the people that you work with, you spend a lot of time together. And that's one of the things that I tell my people is like, we're family now because we're gonna wake up together. We're gonna have our morning coffee together, or we're gonna have our lunch together or our dinner or whatever the case may be. We spend a lot of time together. And so I think it's important to make sure that you foster the relationships between each other, because whenever you're struggling, I can see that because I know you. And then I want to know, like, well, what can I do to be able to help you, even if it's just to lend a listening ear. I can't always do anything to fix the problem, but I can listen to you. I can hear you. and support you through whatever the case may be, whether not necessarily just the hard times, but also those highlight moments that you want to share, you know. And I think being able to have a workplace culture that is inviting, that is supportive and welcoming to everybody, I think is important because that's, I want, um, one of the things that I wanted to focus on is like, I wanted to make sure that I don't create a space or an environment where people hate to go to work. And not to say that I've had employees that, like, obviously my first employees or whoever is, you know, I lost some employees along the way and for reasons of either fault of my own, because I'm not perfect, or they just decided to move on or it just didn't work out. We didn't vibe together. And that happens. But I have always told my people, like, listen, if it's not, if we're not a good fit for you, then that's okay. You know, we're not meant for everybody. And, you know, there's something out there bigger, better for you. And I want you to do the best for you.
Yeah.
And I've always told my team, like, do what's best for you because I mean, I don't want to force anybody to do anything. And ultimately, I want to do the best do what's best for me, my business, and my team. And if that means that we have to separate, then you know that's okay. You're still part of the Swan Beta family.
Yeah, always affirming. And, you know, I know you've had some long-term and short-term employees have left Swamp Daddies in there. Always seem to find their way back in some way. I'll take Kelly, for example. Kelly worked for us in the O's, right? And then when you expanded into the larger space down in the Jones building, Kelly did some of the artwork for you.
Kelly is a unique individual, y'all. So he was an individual that was formerly incarcerated and was looking for a job. And he came in and he told me I was going to hire him. I did the interview and I was like, okay. I wasn't sure. But he was like, okay, I'm going to show up tomorrow and come to work. And I was like, I thought he was just joking. So he legit showed up and was like ready to work. But I mean, in building those true, authentic relationships, and I was like, because he was so determined, and I saw that drive and that determination in him, and I was like, you know what, you're somebody that I want on our team. And I tell you, he was funny, extremely talented, which is just one of the things that I love about Kelly is that his love of art. And if you come to Swamp Daddies, you'll be able to see his art displayed at the restaurant. He's painted 3 murals at the restaurant, and he's been hounding me about coming back to do more. So, but I mean, it's relationships like that where I have had the opportunity to be blessed with these individuals that have helped me to build my dream of being able to share food and flavor and the Southern culture with the community of Sioux Falls and surrounding areas. And so one of the things that I truly value most as a business owner is being able to build relationships with people. And I can't stress enough is like for those businesses where you are your own employee, you're the owner, you're the employee, you're all the things, and you are building it by yourself, kudos to you. But I know in my business, I depend on my team because I mean, Swamp Daddies would not be in existence without my team. And so through the years, I mean, my mother-in-law, who we were on the food truck together for many years, her and I working it and whipping that trailer around, pull it up at the food truck events. And then
Now let's get it straight. You were whipping a trailer around.
I was whipping that trailer. And let's
Like no whipping and no trailer.
no, she was not whipping. I was not gonna have her whipping no trailer. She'd be done whip that trailer in circles. Or, oh yeah, mercy, who knows what would happen. But side note on that, people would be so shocked whenever I would pull up because we had a Ford F-150 and an 18-foot trailer that I would pull up in, and I would get out the car and they'd be like, "What?" I'm like, "Yes, I was driving. I have to jump down out the truck. Don't do that. Don't do that. Not on this podcast, okay?" But I mean, just like through the years with me and your mom, and like moving into the Jones building, one of our long-term employees who was with us, which she's not right now, Brenda. I mean, she's the OG, you know, and I think of like some of the other employees that have made a huge impact on our life. Heather, Serene, Kenny, like we've had Alicia, my sister, Ariana, Jennifer. Like we've had some people that have been with us
For
for
years.
years.
And that's unheard of in the restaurant industry.
It is.
Yeah, if you don't know Brenda, Brenda's like she's the face of Levitt.
She is.
She's dancing, she's having a good time.
Yep.
She's such a joy to be around. And she no longer works for us, but again, that's another example of just someone who has been attached to Swamp Daddies, and because of what you've been able to build there, has been part of that continuous family.
Yeah.
So over and over, we've heard a couple things come up: family and also community. I want to talk maybe a little bit about the extended community, the community of Sioux Falls that you've been able to serve in some ways. So you talked about serving with the NAACP and the African American History Museum. But particularly last year, you started something with Cubic Construction or Cubic Carpentry, excuse me. Dom Cubic is the owner of that company. And so the two of you partnered to hold an event surrounding Thanksgiving. When this comes out, it'll be after Thanksgiving again, but you're doing it again this year. Can you talk a little bit about that event?
Yeah. So it was originally Dom's idea to want to come in and feed the community, and he was looking for a place to host it. And giving back and being invested in the community is something that is near and dear to my heart, to our hearts. And so, and I told him, I was like, I have a restaurant, I have a kitchen, you know, we could do this together. And so we collaborated on that. And this is the second year that we've done this event, and we call it the Friendsgiving. And it's a free event. You come in, we serve your Thanksgiving meal to whoever shows up, and this is for any and everybody. It doesn't matter your economic status, how big your bank account is, you know, what your job is, what you look like, what you're wearing. It's for anybody that just want to come in and just fellowship, you know, with each other, with our community, build relationships, and truly just take the moment to kind of like put whatever's going on in the world aside and just be thankful for the moment that we have right now. To be able to share a meal with the next person, to have a conversation with people, and to get to know them, the individual, and to really to see them as an individual. Because a lot of times, you know, some of our communities that are in need, no matter what level the need may be, sometimes it's overlooked, and they feel like they're overlooked. And so this is my thought process on this and my intentions was to be able to have this event to where we can have all different types of varieties of people come in together and to enjoy each other's company. Because again, one of the reasons why Swamp Daddies was created was because the power that happens whenever the power in a meal and sharing a meal with someone, the community, the connection, the love that happens whenever you come together and share a meal, you know, that's something that's of substance. You can't.
It's so genuine. You can't.
It is very genuine.
That type of feeling.
You cannot. And ultimately, that's what, you know, one of the motivating factors as to why we want to do this. So
Yeah. So you kind of talking around, you know, how that developed is very similar to this podcast, getting to know the person before anything else. And so that's why I think it's so important too to talk about the work that you're doing in the community, extended from Swamp Daddies. So let's dig deep into ACE Academy.
okay.
And the work that's happening surrounding education at ACE Academy. We have 3 girls. All 3 of our girls have attended ACE Academy. Can you tell us what it is, what you do there, and maybe your vision for the future of education as it falls?
Well, that's a loaded question. I will say that I am definitely no expert when it comes to, nor am I know that this is not my level of expertise, but I am a huge supporter of ACE because of our girls and having kids that are growing up in this current climate and wanting to make sure that they are educated accurately. And that's one thing that I know over the years that ACE has been specifically intentional on doing, is making sure that they are educating our kids, not just on what the standard of what society says that our kids should know, but being intentional and teaching them accurate and conscious education.
Yeah.
And so, um, one of the things that I really appreciated about ACE 2 over the years is that they allow the child to be able to be the leader of their education. And you don't see that in the public school. Not saying that it is a bad thing that the public school does not do that, because I mean I know it's a larger system, a larger beast in itself. But the opportunity to have a smaller educational um, environment, to where smaller classrooms, the teachers can be a little bit more intentional about whatever that particular student needs. Because to to me, our daughter now, two of our girls are now back in public school, and the number of students in the classroom, and it's one teacher. Now, the challenge we have with our three girls and giving them what they need at different times can be just a challenge in itself. Now, once you bring in 20 something
30 kids.
20 to 30 kids in one classroom, and each child learns differently and receives information differently, how can you make sure that you're making you're creating a space for that child to ultimately retain all of that information and truly learn, and to be able to build the whole child, instead of just like you know memorization.
Yeah.
And so I know that ACE really is strategic in how the grassroots was built, in developing a program that was focused on the student, not the students, but whoever that student was. Whenever they came to ACE, they were able to have a program that was built for them. Obviously, there's a baseline, but each child, there is a foundation, but each child has different needs. And so being able to support that, with our girls going there, I'm currently a board member and have been for some years now. And I am super proud to say that we have this in our community. I know Chloe has worked very hard.
Chloe is.
Chloe is the founder, one of the co-founders, and she's the founder, co-founder, the director, the lunch lady at times, and a teacher, substitute teacher. And so, um, being able to work with her over the years and see the program build and grow, um, and the after-school program grow, and all of the amazing things that ACE has to offer this community, I feel like it's not maximized to its true potential, just because of what it is, because we are focused on the culture,
Right.
as ACE, as part of the ACE family. That's one of the another highlight that I love is like, we're not going to hide our culture. We're going to highlight our culture and make sure that you are educated and on the proper history, instead of what our society, our textbooks are telling you that what was history or what you should know. And so I really appreciate that. I mean, that is Swan Daddies has been incorporated with ACE, with serving lunch to the students at ACE, and then we have you and I have been a part of ACE since the beginning, uh, and it has just been amazing to be a part of that the ACE family. And I can only hope and pray that in the future here, especially with the current climate of the political world that we are living in right now, that ACE is something that will stand strong, and be supported by our community, because it is important that we see this as an asset. We see this as a necessity for our kids and for our future. Because I can tell you right now, it's a challenge right now getting some support,
For sure.
from a local support, for funding, or even just community to show up and say, hey, I want to be a part of ACE. And it's almost like over the years, we've had to prove ourselves, which I get. You're talking about bringing your child in, and like, hey, out of the public school system where it's free tuition, that you're going to drop them off, pick them up, all the things. But having um, having ACE be a part of our community and being supported by people showing up to support, whether that's volunteering, bringing your child there as a student or for after school care. And I can't stress enough, even financial dollars, because it's not free. And we would love it to be free if we can get properly funded.
And that's exactly what my next point was going to be. Is the organizations in this community have to provide some source of I don't know, I would say backing, not necessarily be the backbone of another organization or nonprofit, but when you talk about building community, it takes all of us.
It does.
What do they say? It takes a village.
It takes a village
to raise a child, and so
Yeah.
ACE is part of that village. ACE is building community. When you mentioned ACE, you said 2 times, I believe, the ACE family.
Yeah.
And instead of having like a traditional PTA, ACE Academy does family night to where parents can be involved in our committees, and parents are just as involved in making this thing run as the children are and as the staff are. And so it truly is a sense of community. But what ACE needs, what other nonprofit needs, is the backing of the folks who have the resources to make this thing work. And so that's what you were referring to.
Yeah, it's very challenging to see the power in a program that you've invested a lot of time, effort, and energy and money into, and it just not get the support that it deserves. Because we have seen the impact that ACE has had in our community, and specifically from the parents that was like, ACE has been a godsend. My child was going through this, and because we now brought them to ACE, they are now even better. They're experiencing this, and they weren't experiencing these things before, or they were struggling with this, and now ACE is taking the time to foster that. And not being able to, going through some of the struggles of the financial support, because I know for a fact, and I've had multiple conversations with some of our people in our community, is that the reason why they don't attend ACE is because they can't afford it. Yeah. And I know that financially that is a burden, um, or it can be looked at as a burden, to have to choose whether I want to go and I need to pay my bills at my house, or do I pay for my child's tuition. And then we've also had the intimate conversations of like, well, what's more important? Is your child's education more important, or is your car payment or your whatever, And I get it. You can't get your child to work. You can't if you don't have a car, or you can't, I might have to pay my bills at my house, or I'm gonna have to do all these things. And so making that financial investment is not an easy choice for everybody. And so getting the community support financially from either grants, scholarships, or any funding from these larger organizations that fund other
Other schools, private entities.
Anything. And I cannot tell you how many declines that we have gotten from individuals just because either they don't even want to take the time to really get to know us, or they see they're not supportive of the vision and values of ACE. And so I know that specifically we were I'm on the board. And so having that conversation of like, okay, what does the funding look like for this year? And we've actually had a divide in our within our community, the ACE family, because of like having to make that difficult decision of like, do we continue on this journey because of the financial strain that we're in, or do we, close it down? And we've had to make some very, very, very difficult decisions that were not easy. There's been many times that we've been emotional, mental exhaustion, physical exhaustion, because of the hard decision, because we know how important this is. And so wanting to make sure that we do what's best for our kids, and the importance and the significance that ACE is to this community, want to make sure that no stone will go unturned to make sure that this school stays in place. And so we've lost some relationships, unfortunately, but I know one thing that I'm proud to say is that, I know how important it is for this program to be here. And I know that I will do all that I can to be supportive. And I know I'm not the most active, although I feel like I do a lot, but I mean, there are many other community members, ACE family members that are like committed, that is, they're working, it feels like 40 hours for ACE and then 40 hours for their own job. Um, and that's something that I love. And you talked about the parent involvement. That's something that I feel like people need to understand how significant that is whenever you not only show up for your child by sending them to a program, to a school where you know that they're going to be loved and they're cared for as an individual, but then also to know that you can be as involved and as active as you want to be in your child's education. Like if you want them to do certain activities, certain clubs, certain, whatever the case may be, you have the power and the ability to be like, have a very close relationship with the community that is surrounding your child on a daily basis. And you don't get that in the public school system. We're seeing that right now. I mean, I love the fact that I could just roll up to ACE and go pop in on my, and see what the kids are doing at school. And then the kids all run up, give me hugs, and just, like being able to see the kids as like,
Yeah.
as family.
It's
It is truly,
community.
it is a
Truly
community.
a family. Yeah. I mean, and we have kids there that call our girls cousins.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
because we're family.
and they truly believe that they're real cousins.
Yeah, you couldn't tell them otherwise.
Can't tell them anything.
You cannot tell them otherwise.
Nah, so it's phenomenal work that's being done over at Ace
It is.
for sure. I wanted to make sure I highlighted that because the work that you're doing as a Black woman in this community is very valuable. The work that's being done by Black women over at Ace Academy is very valuable. And then we turn that around to see again the political climate where a Black woman just lost the election. And I know the intimate conversations that you and I have had surrounding politics. I don't necessarily want to talk political unless we go there. I'm good with it. I'm always good with politics.
How much time do we have?
But I want to talk about maybe your feelings surrounding our 3 young Black girls who will be Black women who were so excited about the potential of having a Black woman as president. They didn't have an opportunity to see that. The first question is, do you think we will, in our lifetime, do you think we'll ever see a Black woman sit in the seat of president of the United States? And then the second question, maybe a follow-up to that is, how do you feel about and maybe this will be more of an emotional response as well. How do you feel about your girls experiencing that type of disappointment? Our girls experiencing that type of disappointment.
Yeah, I will say, and that was a lot that you just asked me there. So, one, the fact that we had a Black woman on the ballot to be the next president of the United States of America, being able to go to Chicago, I had the opportunity to join you at the Democratic National Convention in Chicago this year.
Which was fine.
It was absolutely amazing. Being able to experience that in person and to see Kamala Harris speak and to see the power and the motivation and the energy that people had around her was nothing that I've ever experienced before in my life. And honestly, like that type of energy, it was planting seeds within me. And even for a small little second there, I was like, damn, this is so damn inspirational. Should I run for office or should I do something?
Absolutely, you should.
And although I soon came into the light and I was like, nah, this is not for me. But to be able to see that was amazing. It is something that will last with me forever. And being, you and I are constantly having conversations at the house. Our girls are a part of these conversations. And I know that they were really excited to see. And even though Kamala did not win, the fact that our girls had the opportunity to see a strong Black woman and it almost feel like they are on this journey with her. They were on that journey with her throughout this process. And for them to see her on stage and to know that she was potentially going to be the next president of the United States, I think was impactful enough to them to know that they could potentially do just about anything, you know, and no, obviously would have wanted her to win. But then in life, sometimes we know that you don't always win, but that doesn't mean that you stop. So I think it's also important for us to make sure that we're making them aware of like, yeah, she ran, she didn't win, but what is she doing now? She's still doing. What is her journey looking like now? What are the things she's making sure that she's doing so that they know that sometimes in life you may not, you will shoot your shot, but you may not win. But what do you keep doing? Do you give up? And I know, I mean, our daughter right now is just entering into the world of sports. And she is, it's something that's new for her. And she's, learning sportsmanship. She's learning athleticism, like trying to be able to understand, like, you got to keep pushing yourself. You're not going to always make the shot. You're not going to always score. You're not going to always get the hit, but just keep going. And I think that that's something that I want our girls to make sure that they understand. Just keep going, even though you may not win. Um, and do I think that we'll ever see a Black woman as the president of the United States? I just want to speak on, I think people need to understand the power and the impact of a woman and the power and the impact of a Black woman.
Yes.
Even more. And I know that there have been many conversations that we have heard. There's been posts on social media about how people don't think that a woman would be able to be strong enough to lead this country. And I cannot tell you how unfortunate that is to be able to hear as a woman, as a Black woman. Whenever we know that sometimes keeping our own, just think of your household. For all of these men that are saying, oh, I don't want a woman to lead this country. Who is leading your household right now? Who is the one that is keeping your family together, making sure that all the things, I just want people to look at that on that small level. Like, bring it to your level.
Bring it to micro level.
Bring it to a micro level and just see the impact that a woman has just in your immediate household.
Yeah, absolutely.
And understand the organization and the manipulation that has to happen in order for everything just to kind of to run smooth.
Yeah.
If you will, and quote unquote. And to me, I think it's definitely going to be a season for us to have to come together, because as Donald Trump as the president, going to be the president of the United States, it is very scary. We've already seen a lot of people showing their ass about how they feel about people that are different from them. And I can't tell you, I know you just sent me a video of a situation that happened in Columbus, Ohio, where some people were walking the streets with their face coverings and swastikas on flags and yelling chants. And I'm like, this is about to be the country that we're going to be living in.
Absolutely. And it's no coincidence that, there were rumors around Black folks in Columbus, Ohio, eating dogs and cats. Like, it's no coincidence around the narrative and the language that was used to embolden people to do so in those types of communities.
Yep.
I want to maybe touch on one thing here too that you talked about, and is really the importance and the value of Black women. Part of this election, there was a conversation surrounding the party, the Democratic Party, which Kamala Harris was running in, now becoming the party of the elite. And I take offense to that personally, because when you look at the makeup of the Democratic Party, the majority of the voters are going to be Black women. The second place, if you will, majority of the voters are Black men. Now, you tie that in with education, which we know there's going to be a dismantling of the Department of Education, right? But you tie that in with education. The number one rate of educated people in our country is Black women, and the highest growth rate amongst educated individuals, higher ed, is Black men. So there's no, again, like the correlation to what we see in politics and what we see in education is so vastly important. And Black women continue to rise to the occasion, continue to be resilient, continue to be on top. And so I took offense to that narrative being used to say that we're the part that we, I say myself included, being a Democrat, that we were the party of the elite, but we're just the party of education. We're the party of hard work. We're the party of resilience. And that was a slap in the face to Black folks. Did you feel any certain type of way about the language that was used towards Black women, or maybe even some of the actions towards Black women during this election? Like, how did that impact you or affect you?
I there were many times where I would see where people would try to use um, Kamala Harris, and they would discredit her in so many different ways. Kamala was a very, or is a highly educated woman, highly educated, um, and accredited woman. And people still chose ways to try to manipulate that and make it seem like she is not an intelligent woman, that she don't know what she's doing when she's had years of experience as working in the legal system. And what I have learned, and even some of my own experiences as a business owner, as a Black woman, as a Black businesswoman, is that it doesn't matter what you have to show for your work. People will always try to strip you of that, even though you got the certificate right here and you saying that this is what I've accomplished, or you have your years of experience, whatever the case may be. People just will not acknowledge it, and that's by choice. They will blindly look at you and say that, you know what, it's not enough.
Yeah.
Or is it real? Is it fake? And to me, the way I look at it is that I can pour energy into that, or I can just see your ignorance and then just keep moving forward. Because obviously, this is going to be a waste of my time trying to convince you otherwise.
Yeah.
If you're going to intentionally choose not to acknowledge me and my successes, then I'm wasting my time. You wasting your time. And I would rather spend my time and energy and efforts doing something else within, that's going to be impactful. Um, because you got to pick your battles.
For sure.
And I feel like
I wish
the
we could
work
pick 'em all.
really, and I feel like Kamala had she put it out there. She let people knew who she was, her journey, how she got there, and why she was a vice president, why she was a candidate for president of the United States is because she earned it. She worked hard for it. Um, and as a Black woman, I look at that as inspiration for me because I know that the journey was not easy for her. I knew that she faced a lot of scrutiny. Um, and I can only imagine having to pick yourself up time after time after enduring that. And going through some of my own struggles in life, whether that is, as a mother, trying to make sure I'm doing the right things, as a wife, as a business owner, as a friend, trying to make sure that we're doing all the things, and understanding that life sometimes, throws a wrench at you, and being able to know, like, what, see the power within yourself. And when we were at the Democratic National Convention in Chicago, excuse me, not there, when we were at Essence, when we went to Essence, which I don't know where it's been all my life, y'all. I was in Louisiana, born and raised, and just finally went to Essence last year.
We won't miss another one.
Never will I ever miss another one, unless the good Lord see fit for me to be doing something else. Otherwise, it was amazing. Highly recommend it. And so there was a shirt that I got that said "Trust Black Women."
I wore it to the gym this morning.
You did.
Yeah.
And
My shirt, not hers.
yeah, he just wanted his muscles to really pop. But I saw that shirt, and just speaking to the people at that booth and really having the opportunity to kind of focus in on the power that we have within ourselves. because a lot of times this world will try to pick you apart and make you feel like you're less than. And then for that time, that those 3 days that we were at Essence Festival, where it's like super focused on you as your individual, at for your seeing yourself, loving your melanation, like just like highlighting that, like that was like the fuel that I needed to like pick up and keep going. Because I mean, I'm not gonna lie, sometimes living in a place where it, you know, where we wish that the community was a little bit closer, where we wish that
It was more of
there
us.
was there was a larger community of Black people where they felt where they were welcome, like they could feel like they could freely express themselves and be their creative selves and without being judged. It's hard
Yeah.
where you feel like you're constantly walking on eggshells or trying not to make somebody feel uncomfortable or trying to, you know, code switch whenever you're in like different environments, to where like whenever you walk into a space, you can just own it. And I don't know if it's going off track, but I was talking to an individual where he said that when he walked into a room, you know, the way people looked at him, and this was a Black man, when people looked at him, it made him feel a certain type of way, and he like retracted, and he was like, well, I'm just going to stay over here. I'm not really going to open up and go and engage because the environment isn't welcoming for me.
Right.
And I asked him, I was like, well, why didn't you whenever, but I want people to be able to know, and this is something I've had to learn over the years, and it's something that people just automatically do, or sometimes people have to learn how to do this, especially if you're a business owner, um, is knowing that whenever you walk into a space, you need to own it.
Absolutely.
You have to own that space. You cannot let anybody make you feel like you have to minimize yourself to be able to make them feel comfortable. And I cannot tell you how many times that I've been in a room and felt like that. And have felt so small that I'm like, why am I here? Do I even deserve to be here? And having that conversation with this gentleman, I was letting him know, like, no, don't minimize yourself. Go up to them and make yourself known.
Make your presence
Because
felt.
you deserve to be there.
Absolutely. Yep.
You're in that room for a reason. And like, it doesn't matter who you are, where you're at, like there will always be somebody that is not going to like you, somebody that is not going to think that you're trying to be something that you're not, just those negative things, or think that you don't belong in the room. But
As even in your own community, people will think.
yeah, even in your own community. And you know what? That's okay. But what you decide to do, is determined by your own self. And so, making sure that people know, like, to stand strong, stand firm, be present, and forward motion.
Yeah.
That's like been my 2024 thing was,
Full motion.
and I'm where I got that from was Naomi.
Shout out to Naomi.
Shout out to Naomi. We were having with the lab, we were having a conversation, and we were speaking about, she was sharing some of the growth and some of her successes, and I can't remember specifically right now the context of what she used this for, but the comment came up of forward motion, and at that moment it hit me so hard, and I was like, and I like latched on to that phrase, forward motion. And I know that that is something that has kind of been really helping me along with the journey as an entrepreneur, because it is very difficult. Sometimes you get discouraged, and really focusing on that forward motion is something that has really helped me. And so I really appreciated that moment, because being able to get inspiration from another young Black woman, and we're on two different paths, two different entrepreneurship journeys, but to be able to lean and depend on each other, and whether that's of words of encouragement or just support, but in that moment when she spoke those words, I'm like, wow, forward motion.
Yeah.
You know what? No matter what, just forward motion. Just keep pushing.
That's huge.
It is huge.
Wow. So we can talk all day. We can talk to each other all day.
We do.
But particularly for this, I know there's so much more that we can touch on. I wanted to maybe close out by going back to Essence. And I was geeked up for this moment. We met Maxine Waters. Lord have mercy. We met Auntie Maxine.
We got a picture with her, like, meet her, meet her.
Yeah.
Like, we locked eyes.
Yeah. Like we connected.
We connected. We had a little mini micro conversation.
I think that's my auntie for sure. But one of the things that Maxine kind of went viral for within the last few years was reclaiming my time. And so for folks who maybe haven't seen that viral clip or don't understand what reclaiming my time in the political world means, it means that when someone is either interrupting you while you're talking, or if you are presenting a platform to a panel or a committee, a legislative committee, and maybe you have not used up all of your time or used up all of your space, then you can reclaim the leftover time to take that for yourself to make sure you are intentional about getting your message across very clearly. So I want to utilize kind of Maxine Waters' slogan that, kind of went viral, if you will, about reclaiming your time. And I want you to talk very specifically to young women of color, black women, about how they can be more resilient in this year, how they can continue to move forward, and how they can reclaim their time with intention this year.
Yes. Well, I will say that one thing that I want you to focus on, and as I say this out, I'm saying this to myself as well, is first, make sure that you are working on yourself. Because I know that it's sometimes hard to pour out and to give constantly to others if you're not focusing and working on yourself. And that's something that I am learning is for self-care, self-love, and actually how important that is. I have a really good friend of mine, one of my best friends, Antoinette. Shout out to Antoinette Jensen, where she kind of helped me.
Net J Fitness.
Net J Fitness, yes. She kind of helped me really see, just by living by example, honestly, of me looking at her and seeing how intentional she is about making sure that she's taking care of herself, and me seeing the impact that it's having on her. And so understanding that self-love, self-care is important. And so do whatever that is, whatever that thing is, to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. And then if I had to give a piece of advice, it would be is to allow yourself to fall. Give yourself some grace if you do. Because I'm not going to necessarily say that you're going to fail, but in life, sometimes things get tough, things get challenging, but allow yourself some grace and understand that just continue with that forward motion and you'll be able to accomplish whatever you are determined and you work hard for, you will be able to be successful at. And also to build a community of people that are really, truly going to support you. You don't need a yes man. Everybody loves a yes man, but to have a community, to have people around you that is going to challenge you, people that are going to question you and ask you, well, why? Why did you want, or why did you choose, or what makes you think, because I feel like sometimes we think that almost every idea that we have is a big, bright idea as a people. But sometimes being able to have a community of people that are surrounding us so where we know that we can truly speak our intentions, and they will either be supportive or help us to work through those things, I think is really important. So making sure that you have a strong community surrounding you, and just be your true authentic self
at all times.
at all times. Be your true authentic self. Never manipulate yourself to be able to conform to anyone else's ideas, anyone else's perspectives, anyone else's comfortability. Be yourself. And that is something that I had to learn because I've been a contortionist. I've been, over the years, but I have learned that, you know what, you're going to accept me for me. And if you can't accept me for me, then you can keep it moving.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately what I would say.
For sure. So our first guest was Willette Capers, and her podcast is called Too Tired to Code Switch. She gave us some very similar sentiments when she was on the show as well. So, you know, I am always going to advocate for Black women, and I'm doing so in this space with intention. I've also learned to be very intentional here this last year to ask Black women not just to tell us to trust you, but to trust us as Black men as well. We are now, as Black men, switching or changing the narrative that we're not in families. When you look at the stats behind those who are married, Black men are not necessarily marrying Black women, but we're heavily involved in the family with whoever the mother of our children are, and also we are heavily involved to a rate that's higher than any other community in this country. We're involved in our children's lives and our children's education as well. So when we talk about what a sense of community is, yes, self-care is certainly important, and we have learned to do that for ourselves for sure.
Yeah.
But we've also learned that there are times where we have to be able to rely on each other in those weak moments. And so I appreciate you just for being there for me in those weak moments for sure. And hopefully with intention, I can continue to be there for you in those moments too. So trust Black women, trust Black men, trust Black people.
Yeah.
Right? Trust Black people, and just trust good people overall.
Yeah.
Trust good people overall.
Good people. Know people's intentions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Know what they stand for,
Yeah. So thank you for being here. I think we might have to do a second conversation, or maybe we just start our own little podcast or something. Maybe we just start a marriage podcast.
There you go.
I don't know. Well, the vibes coming too. So yeah, we'll have to talk about that another day. So appreciate y'all for listening to Roots and Revenue. Again, the focus here at Roots and Revenue is to ensure that we're learning more about the person, the struggles of their person, how they've had to overcome adversity before learning about the business side of them. Thank you again for watching, and we'll catch y'all next time.
Thank you.